In this video, we're going to take a look at building a model in place component. A model in place component is similar to a family in that it does have a category and it is going to be a 3D model element. However, it only exists in the project that you build it in. So that's going to be different from a family in that a family is its own file, and you can save that file to a desktop and load it into multiple projects. This model in place component is only going to exist in the projects it's built in. It can be copied from project to project, but you have to have both projects open and able to copy it across. So an instance of where you might want to use a model in place component is where you need to use the dimensions of the project or that you are in order to build something. So maybe it's something that is, built-in casework that is custom casework, or something that is, related to a certain clearance or column or something like that. It's kind of more of a custom unique situation. So for this video, we are going to build a model in place component, and we're going to build a custom island for a kitchen. So to get started, I'm going to be on my architecture tab here. I'm going to go to my component drop down. So typically we just click on place a component, which puts us into the command to place a family. But this time I'm going to say model in place. So that means I'm going to build a component that is unique to the project. So there's an example of, something you might want to be using it for a model element that you're referencing. I'm then going to select my category. So remember that category is going to be important as far as your visibility graphics controls are concerned. So if that's going to be casework, which our kitchen island would, I'll be select casework. If it was a custom chair or something like that, you might want to select furniture. But just, do select the most applicable category for that item. And then you can give it a name here. And I'll say okay. And I'm automatically put into my sketch mode here. There we go. So you can see that up here on my upper right, you can see everything else grayed out, and I am in a sketch mode to start to build my item. So I'm now in the model mode. So I now have 5 different options here for what I would like to model. So I'm going to go ahead and use an extrusion to start. And I am going to draw a island here. So it should be in my line command there. So let's say maybe I want this island to be 3 feet deep by, let's go with 6, 4. And of course, these dimensions can vary. This is just going to be an example, but once you've learned how to draw it in a certain dimension, you can replicate it. I could use it just as a square island like this, or I can also use my arc command. This is a start end radius arc. So remember that the first click is going to be the start of the arc, the second click is the end, and then the third is the radius. So I'll finish that. I'll use my trim command here to trim my corners. Remember that's 2 clicks, clicking on the pieces that you want to keep. And then I'll go ahead and finish my sketch. All right, if we take a look at this in 3D, we'll see that that would be on the ground there, and it's about 1 foot thick. So that's the default. It's using level 1 as its work plane, but I can adjust the height of that. So if I have my countertop height, I can adjust the height. You can see that adjustment there. So now it's starting at 2'10". So if you look at an elevation, you can see that really clearly. So here's my level 1. So it's starting at 2'10". So that's the extrusion start. And then it's ending at 3 foot here, which is making that 2 inches thick. So now I have my countertop. I'm going to need a couple more pieces. I'm going to need some casework and then a base. So I'm going to go back to my create tab, go to my extrusion. Now I can draw that again, or if I want to do this a little bit faster, I use my pick lines. And I'm going to do an offset because the countertop is going to have an offset from the casework. It's going to have an overhang. So I'm just going to go with 2 inches here. Now this is my pick line. So if I click here, it's going to do that offset from the line that I'm picking. But I can even do this one step more efficient here. If I just hover and tab, all right, that's just 2 tabs. So I hover, I'm going to hit tab once, tab again, just hitting it like space bar, not holding it down. And I'm going to get this chain of walls or lines, and just click once, and there you go. I'll go ahead and finish that extrusion. Go to my 3D view. You see again, it defaults to 0 and 1 foot. So you can see the gap there. So I know that this extrusion is starting at 2'10". So that means that's where I want this one to end. So you can just pull up the model like that. But if I know it's 2'10", then I can say that I want this to end at 2'10". And then I'm going to set my base for my toe kick. So I have one, then I'm going to have a 4-inch piece below. So I'm going to go back to my level 1, and I'm going to do another extrusion here. So each one of these is their own extrusion. That means I can apply separate materials to them. So I'm going to click on extrusion. Now I know I did a 2-inch offset from the countertop before, so I'm going to go ahead and do 4 inches. That way it's a 2-inch offset from the casework. I'm going to do the same thing, hover tab. And I've quickly created my item. Now, right now it's going 1 foot high. You can see it's overlapping, so I don't want that. So again, I know that this extrusion is starting at 4 inches. So I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to tell it to end at 4 inches. All right, so that way I have 3 different elements here. Okay, from here I am going to apply different material parameters. So this is going to be a little bit different on our custom element here. You can apply the same parameter to multiple elements, but if you want to have them the ability to each be editable on their own, then you're going to apply separate ones. So I'm going to start here with the countertop. So I'm going to click on it and move over here to my properties bar. And then here in the category, instead of clicking on the category, that's just going to directly assign a material to it. I want to set up a parameter so it's easier to edit afterwards. So I'm going to click here on this little gray box. And then there's no parameters right now. It's just a brand new family. Nothing exists yet. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the little paper with the starburst. And it automatically is telling me that it's a material parameter. I don't need to edit anything aside from giving it a name. It is a type parameter instead of an instance. So I'm going to say OK. So now I have a countertop material assigned there. I'm going to create one here. Now you'll see that other one that I already made. I have one for the casework, and I'm going to make one for the toe kick. Okay, so creating these material parameters did not assign materials yet. It just gave me the flexibility to do so once I finished the model. So if I went up here to my family types, you'll now see those parameters that I created. And I'm going to go ahead now and finish the model. All right, so now you can see it's acting as one component, all pieces together, which is great for if I need to move this around. They're all those pieces are going to move together and stay consistent. And then from here, let's go ahead and put it on shaded. Then I can go into my type properties and I can apply different materials. So maybe this is kind of like a butcher block type. We'll go with that. I know it says flooring, but that material kind of looks like a butcher block, so we'll do that. Casework would be potentially a wood or a PLAM, some different items or options there. We'll just go with wood stained. And let's see. You can come up with a different material for the toe kick. I'm just going to select this one since we know how to create materials already. And go ahead and say okay, okay. And there we go. So now I have a different material for each piece of that item. All right, from here, very easy for you to create your floor plan view and dimension them. Remember, that's just a shortcut. I have it set up for the dimensioning tool that I choose to get into that command. So you can quickly dimension it. To use the radial one, just click on that radius there. You can then also cut a section of it. Just double check that's the right view that we need there. And you can see that, and you can easily dimension in this view as well.